So I got up early this morning. I had every intention of going to the farm to earn a bit of money, but the rain was absolutely coming down. It was torrential. So what I did instead is I edited a bit of video. Then when my laptop ran out of battery, I read The Power of Now for a little bit, and then my little USB lantern ran out of light, and all I had left then was like a chink of light through the side of the door. And I just felt really tired, so I had a nap. I went to sleep. I must have slept for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, but when I woke up the rain had stopped and I came outside and it was like this. The sky is blue up here now and the sun is out, and I thought, okay, I'll just go to the farm tomorrow. I've been thinking about work and I've been thinking about money, and we're going to move to France early in the new year, and I don't want to go there broke, so I do need to make some money. But what I've done is I've got a bunch of certificates, right, that I collected when I was working full time for a forestry and conservation contractor, things for chainsaw certificates and things like this. So I'm actually pretty employable. I put together what you might call a CV and emailed it to a few local tree surgeons, probably about 6 or 7 local tree surgeons, and said, look, this is my experience, this is the qualifications I've got, and I think I'd be pretty employable. And I just left it out there, and one of them's got back to me so far, and he said that's great, but I've just taken on 2 guys, so keep trying. That someone will have some work for you. Keep going, he said. So, but this is my job. This has been my full-time occupation for almost 2 years now. Living out here and trying to make this a viable home. That is my job. That's the most important thing that I've been doing this whole time. And this, living here and building this is like integral to my healing as well. It's very basic, it's very dark. It's shadow work. We're working on the shadow, we're making it familiar, we're making these strange parts of ourselves familiar. So, in an effort to actually make some progress here, I'm clearing all the pine needles that have collected over the months, well over a year that I've been here now. And I'm just heaping them up back there. They're going to be used for camouflage. This earth is going to go over here eventually, but I've got to wait for this to dry out. We've had a lot of rain recently, and I need it to be absolutely bone dry on this layer before I put the earth on. I do need to build a bit of a wooden wall at the front, so the earth has got something to stop against at the front of the roof. But I only need a couple of dry days, a few dry days in a row to get it all done. It's playtime, rah! That was waiting for me one day when I came back here one evening, and you're coming back into the forest. Everything here is green and brown, and there's just this sort of bright blue and pink object, and I can just about make it out through the trees. And as I'm pushing my bike through, I'm like, what the fuck is that? It's definitely not natural. I get closer to it and I'm like, holy shit. And it was inflated at the time, or semi-inflated. It's just there, and it was, it wasn't like it had drifted in from town and got stuck up in the trees. It wasn't like it had drifted in and just landed out on the main track. It landed right on my little trail, which is about 2 or 3 foot wide, and snakes through the trees like this. And I don't know how that balloon dropped in between all these branches, but it had done, right on my trail. And I thought, fucking hell. It looks like, I'm thinking some kid, presumably with some adult, has been up here in the forest. But it's a gas balloon. It's obviously drifted in from town, right? Someone's let it go. It's drifted in and it's just landed. But it was the way it had come into the trees, had fallen through the branches and just landed right on my trail. So that freaked me out a bit. But yeah, it made me think yeah, I accept that it hasn't been deposited there by someone who was actually here. It's drifted in and it's landed there, but it's landed in a very significant place in a very significant way. And you know, it's Peppa Pig, right? It's a cartoon character, and I don't think I've ever even seen the show. You'd only see it if you've got young kids. But a friend of mine, many years ago, he told me that he was there. This is like going way back, because I don't speak to this guy anymore. But he told me a story about how his little girl watched this show, Peppa Pig, and they were eating bacon one day together. He told his daughter, "We're eating Peppa Pig," and she kind of looked at him like she kind of knew what he was saying, but then carried on eating. And yeah, I say I wasn't vegan at the time. Maybe I was, because I remembered it. It stuck in my mind. It's that his little girl was experiencing some cognitive dissonance there. Now, obviously, he wasn't. It was just funny for him. But yeah, maybe I remember that because I was vegan, or I was on my way to being vegan at that time. But this balloon came to remind me of him, of that friend. Now we fell out again just through Facebook messages. It wasn't a face-to-face thing, and if we had a face-to-face conversation, obviously you're a lot more respectful to people when you speak to each other face-to-face, and we did have quite a respectful conversation. But you know, he was okay with me going vegan, and he was okay with me questioning this and questioning that, and I got into the Law for Rebellion thing, and this is still back in the day when I was on Facebook, see, and I was posting on these new things that I was experimenting with and exploring, which you do when you wake up. Well, first you have the experience privately, then you have it publicly. You just start putting things out there on your Facebook, and you see what happens. You see what kind of feedback you get back. And generally speaking, people will only interact with something if they agree with it on some, to some degree, or they're really opposed to it and they're triggered and they have to say something to the negative. So you can say a lot of things, and you just you go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. So the things you keep saying are they get crazier and crazier by most people's understanding, until you get to something like the flat earth, and then people start getting triggered. But they're just there silently watching, observing, drawing their own conclusions, making their opinions, whilst you go on this journey. And then I decided to abandon Facebook entirely for a little while, and then come back under an alias and only use it to communicate with people who I needed to be in touch with. I basically said, okay, if this is my new truth, I have to honour that, and I have to. This is me. This is who I am now, and I wouldn't have come as far as I have done if I hadn't had the courage, because it does take a lot of courage it's social suicide to come out with to just give credence to certain topics, right? So I did it. I'm absolutely proud of it, actually, in hindsight, because it's being true to oneself. But yeah, that's what that balloon brought back to me, reminded me. It took me back many years and just made me reflect on the way I've come.
So I just met this woman coming the other way, and she was walking her 2 dogs, and as we sort of passed each other, she said, "Good morning," and I responded with "good morning" or "afternoon" as applicable, and then we both laughed, because it doesn't really matter what time it is.